The lawyer's voice cut through the silence like a knife. To my daughter Vanessa, I leave the house, the business, and all financial assets. I sat there, 3 days after burying my dad, and watched my sister Vanessa smirk across the table. She leaned over and whispered just loud enough for everyone to hear. Guess he finally figured out who actually mattered. The lawyer cleared his throat and continued. Hannah receives my gratitude for her years of companionship. That was it. Gratitude. The lawyer wouldn't even look at me. I'm Hannah. I'm 26 years old. And that moment in the lawyer's office was the second time my family tried to erase me. Let me back up. 4 years ago, my mom died. Cancer. It was fast and brutal, and it broke my dad. I was in nursing school at the time, working part-time as a home health aide. Dad's mobility started declining right after Mom passed. He needed help. Real help. My older sister Vanessa lived 2 hours away. She had this big marketing job, a husband, named Kyle, a perfect Instagram feed full of family photos that made it look like we were close. We weren't. She visited maybe twice a year, always with complaints. The house was too old. Dad was too stubborn. I wasn't doing enough. But she never stayed. Never helped. Never sacrificed anything. I did. I put nursing school on hold, moved into Dad's house full-time, made his meals, drove him to appointments, helped him shower when he couldn't stand on his own anymore. We watched old westerns every night in his worn-out recliner. He'd fall asleep halfway through, and I'd cover him with a blanket. He called me my steady one. I wasn't glamorous like Vanessa. I lived in scrubs. I didn't have the career or the designer clothes or the social media followers. But I had something she never did. I had Dad's trust. At least I thought I did. I wasn't expecting millions when he died. Just respect. Just acknowledgement that I'd given up 4 years of my life to make sure he wasn't alone. If you've ever been the one who stayed while everyone else left, subscribe right now and tell me where you're watching from. I need to know I'm not alone in this. The lawyer kept reading. The family home, valued at approximately $400,000, goes to Vanessa. My stomach dropped. The landscaping business, the truck, and the savings account totaling $80,000, also to Vanessa. Vanessa's husband Kyle grinned and leaned back in his chair. We could sell the house by summer, he said. Market's good right now. I finally found my voice. What about the things Dad promised me? He said I'd be taken care of. My voice was shaking. I hated how weak I sounded. Vanessa cut in before the lawyer could answer. Hannah, don't embarrass yourself. Dad was clear. Maybe if you'd done something with your life instead of playing nurse, he'd have respected you more. Playing nurse. Like I'd been pretending. Like the 4 years I gave him meant nothing. The lawyer slid a single envelope across the table to me. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a framed photo of me and Dad from last Christmas, and a note in his shaky handwriting. Thank you for your care. That was it. No money, no property, nothing. Vanessa stood up, smoothing her designer dress. We need to discuss next steps. Hannah, when will you be moving out of the house? I stared at her. Moving out? It's mine now. I'm giving you 2 weeks. That's generous. The lawyer looked uncomfortable but said nothing. I walked out of that office in a daze, sat in my car in the parking lot. I couldn't even cry. I just felt numb. But then I remembered something. 3 months ago, Dad had grabbed my hand during one of our Western nights. His grip was weak, but his eyes were clear. Hannah, no matter what happens, remember I took care of you. Don't let anyone tell you different. I didn't understand it then. Now I did. He knew something was wrong. A week after the funeral, Dad's business partner Jerry called me. Hey Hannah, I'm confused. Vanessa scheduled a family meeting about the business but said you weren't coming. That doesn't sound right. My blood went cold. What meeting? Today, 2 o'clock. At the house. She said it was for stakeholders only. I hung up and drove straight there. When I walked into the dining room, Vanessa was sitting at the head of the table with Kyle, Jerry, and Dad's accountant. She looked up, annoyed. This is for stakeholders only. I stayed in the doorway. I lived here for 4 years. As a guest, Vanessa said coldly. Now you're a tenant I'm evicting. Jerry shifted uncomfortably but didn't say anything. I left before I said something I'd regret. But it got worse. The following weekend, my Uncle Ron hosted a family dinner. I almost didn't go. But some small part of me hoped someone, anyone, would stand up for me. I was wrong. Halfway through the meal, Vanessa's voice carried across the table. Hannah's upset because Dad didn't leave her anything. But honestly, she was paid to take care of him. She lived rent-free. What more does she want? My cousin Jenna laughed. Yeah, it's not like you have a career to go back to. I tried to explain. That I wasn't paid. That I'd drained my savings. That I'd given up school. Vanessa waved her hand dismissively. That was your choice. Don't blame Dad for your bad decisions. I looked around the table. Uncle Ron, Aunt Diane, Jenna, Kyle. No one said a word. Uncle Ron just cleared his throat and changed the subject. I left early, humiliated, my face burning. But the final betrayal came 3 days later. Vanessa showed up at the house with a folder of paperwork. She didn't even knock, just walked in like she owned the place. Which, I guess, she thought she did. I'm trying to make this easier for you, she said, her tone dripping with fake concern. Sign this, and I'll give you 30 days to move out instead of 14. I looked at the document. It was a release form, signing away any future claim to the estate. I'm not signing this. Vanessa's mask slipped. You're so ungrateful. I'm the one who has to deal with all of this. You just sat around watching TV with him while I built a career. Something snapped inside me. I looked her dead in the eye. I watched him die, Vanessa. Where were you? Her face went red. She grabbed the papers and stormed toward the door. Fine, I'm getting a lawyer. You'll be out in 2 weeks whether you like it or not. The door slammed behind her. I stood there shaking. Then I remembered Dad's words again. I took care of you. I started going through his things. Not to pack, to look. There had to be something. Some clue. Some answer. I searched his bedroom, the garage, the kitchen. Nothing. Then I remembered the locked drawer in his desk. I'd never opened it. Never had a reason to. Dad always kept the key somewhere, but I'd never asked where. I sat in his recliner, the one we'd watched 100 westerns in, and ran my hands along the underside of the armrest. My fingers hit something taped to the bottom. A key. I opened the desk drawer with trembling hands. Inside was a fireproof folder. I pulled it out and opened it on the desk. What I found made my heart stop. A will. Dated 6 years ago. Notarized. Official. It split everything 50-50 between me and Vanessa. Underneath it was another will. Dated 8 months ago. The one the lawyer had read. The one that left everything to Vanessa. But Dad's signature looked wrong. Shaky. Unsteady. I kept digging. Medical paperwork. Notes from a neurologist visit 2 years ago. Patient showing early signs of cognitive decline. Recommend monitoring and follow-up. And then, at the bottom, a handwritten letter. Dad's handwriting. Shakier than usual, but unmistakably his. Hannah, if you're reading this, something went wrong. I made sure you're protected. Trust Walter. He knows. Walter. Dad's old lawyer. The one he'd used for 20 years. The lawyer at the will. Reading was someone new. Someone Vanessa had recommended 6 months ago. My hands were shaking as I put it all together. Dad had been manipulated. When his mind started slipping, Vanessa had swooped in. She'd known, and she'd used it. What they didn't know was that Dad had seen this coming. He'd left me a trail, and I was about to follow it. I found Walter's number in Dad's old address book. My hands shook as I dialed. He picked up on the second ring. "Hannah, thank God, I was waiting for you to call." We met at a diner the next morning. Walter was in his 70s, semi-retired, with kind eyes and a firm handshake. He didn't waste time. "Your dad came to me 6 years ago, set up a will. 50-50 split." He was clear-minded and firm about it. I slid the folder across the table. Walter opened it, his face darkening as he read. "2 years ago, your dad told me he was forgetting things, asked me to keep an eye out. Then 8 months ago, I heard he'd changed his will, used a new lawyer. Someone Vanessa brought in. I tried to visit him," Walter continued, "but Vanessa intercepted me, said he didn't want to see me. I suspected something, but I had no proof." He tapped the medical records. "Until now. This will was signed during a period of cognitive decline. If we can prove undue influence, it's invalid. Can we prove it?" Walter looked at me over his glasses. "With this? Yes. And I'll help you. Pro bono. Your dad was a good man. This isn't what he wanted." But while I was building my case, Vanessa was moving fast. She posted on Instagram about new beginnings and house renovations. She listed Dad's landscaping business for sale, and then I got the formal eviction notice in the mail. She texted me an hour later. "You had your chance to leave quietly. Now this is going to get ugly." Kyle started showing up at the house, walking through rooms, pointing at furniture. "We'll keep that, sell that, donate that." Like I wasn't even there. Then Vanessa scheduled an estate sale 2 weeks out. She was going to auction off everything Dad owned. I called Walter. "If we don't act now, it'll all be gone." Then we act now. Walter filed a legal challenge to the will, citing undue influence and cognitive impairment. Vanessa got the notice the same day. She called me, screaming, "You're going to regret this." I hung up. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. The court hearing was set for 3 weeks later. It wasn't a full trial. Just a probate challenge mediation with a judge. We met in a courthouse conference room. Me, Vanessa, both lawyers, Uncle Ron, who Vanessa brought for support, and the judge. Vanessa's lawyer opened with a smug smile. "Your Honor, Ms. Vanessa was the responsible daughter. The will is clear and legal." Walter stood. "Your Honor, I'd like to present evidence that the will in question was signed under undue influence during a period of documented cognitive decline." He laid out the original will. 6 years, old, notarized, clear. Then the medical records. The neurologist's notes about Dad's memory issues starting 2 years ago. Then the timeline. Vanessa's sudden visits right around the time Dad's mind started slipping. And finally, Dad's letter to me. Vanessa's lawyer tried to argue. "The new will is valid. Mr. Lewis was of sound mind when..." Walter interrupted. "Then why did Ms. Vanessa insist on using a different lawyer? One her father had never met? Instead of the lawyer he'd trusted for 20 years? Vanessa stammered. "He wanted a fresh perspective." "Or," Walter said calmly, "did you want someone who didn't know him well enough to question the changes?" The judge held up a hand. "Ms. Vanessa, how often did you visit your father in the last 2 years of his life?" Vanessa's face flushed. "I have a career. I couldn't just drop everything like Hannah." "How many times?" the judge repeated. Vanessa's voice got quieter. "Maybe 6 or 7. The judge looked at me. "And you, Ms. Hannah?" My voice cracked. every single day. The judge examined both wills under a magnifying glass, comparing signatures. She noted the tremor in the recent one, the shakiness. Then she looked directly at me. "What do you want from this?" I took a breath. "I want what Dad actually wanted. Fair. He loved both of us. He wouldn't have cut me out unless someone convinced him to." The room went silent. The judge reviewed the documents one more time. Then she spoke. "Based on the medical evidence of cognitive decline and the timeline of events, I'm invalidating the will dated 8 months ago. The original will, dated 6 years prior, is reinstated." Vanessa went pale. Kyle cursed under his breath. Uncle Ron quietly stood and left the room. Vanessa's voice was desperate. "This isn't fair. He told me..." The judge's voice was firm. "The law is clear. This hearing is concluded." Outside the courthouse, Vanessa tried one last time. "Hannah, we can still work this out. We don't have to sell the house. We can..." I stopped walking and turned to face her. "You told me I was nothing, that I wasted my life. You tried to take the only thing Dad left me, his respect." Her eyes filled with tears. "I didn't mean..." "Yeah, you did. But I'm done letting you make me feel small." I walked away. And I didn't look back. I kept my half of the estate, used part of the inheritance and a small loan to buy out Vanessa's half of the house. It's mine now. Fully mine. I enrolled back in nursing school, night classes, online when I can. Vanessa sold her half of the business, moved out of state with Kyle. Her Instagram went quiet. Uncle Ron and the cousins who stayed silent at that dinner, they never apologized. But they stopped talking too. Jerry, Dad's business partner, sent me a message a few weeks later. "Your dad would be proud of you." I kept the framed photo Vanessa gave me at the will reading. It sits on the mantle now, surrounded by the life I'm rebuilding. For 4 years, gave everything to take care of Dad. For a few weeks, I thought that meant nothing. But Dad knew. He made sure I'd be okay. And now, finally, I believe it. I sit in his old recliner most nights, studying for my nursing exams. The house quiet, but mine. For once, their silence didn't hurt me. It freed me. If this story hit you, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe button and tell me, have you ever had to fight for what was rightfully yours? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one and I promise you, you're not alone. Where are you watching from? Seriously, I want to know. Comment your city or country below. Let's build a community of people who refuse to stay silent. And if you stayed until the end, thank you. Your time matters. So does your story. Don't let anyone make you forget that.